Last week, I unlocked my sports car A license, and with it, gained access to iRacing's top flight sports car series. Despite this series being reserved for iRacing's safest drivers, the large fields and multi-class action certainly gave plenty opportunities for things to go wrong. Despite that, I was keen to see how I stacked up against some of the most dedicated players in the game. Can we avoid the drama and nab a good result? Let's dive in and find out. So what better place to kick off our IMSA A license experiences than here at Imola. In the BMW, a car and track combo I know very well from other games, and hoping to put that experience into these first IMSA races. Coming across the line to set a 1 minute 42.988 on my first flying lap, but this track certainly wants the tyre temperature to produce decent times, so it was going to be all about this second flying lap and trying to dramatically improve that time. Now we have a 33 car GT3 field for this quieter than normal split one event. Top iRacing in our GT3 class, a 5000 I-rated driver, and in total 50 cars will be lining up, including the GTP and LMP2 fields. So it's going to be a very tight circuit, very congested circuit with so many cars. Certainly it was going to throw up a little bit of drama during the race. However, the rest of this qualifying lap to do now, coming through turn 9 down to the crucial 11, 12, 13 complex, and unfortunately a bit of a slide into 11 and a pitching it a bit hard, more of a slide over the bollard, and we're going to lose the 14th advantage that we had on this lap as we approach the final sector. Not the tidiest, and this was certainly going to cost me a number of positions on the grid. Through the chicane, finding a 10th and a half now, and we're going to have to try and really work hard into the bottom of the track here to try and find as much time as possible. See, my first flying lap sitting there in 12th position was a pretty decent first up effort, but like I mentioned, it was all about this second lap with big improvements coming from everyone in the field. Out of the final corner, finding a little bit more time, so we're going to finish this one at 2.5 tenths, but we could have been, as I said, 4 tenths better off in this one. Coming across the line, a 1 minute 42.737, good enough for 19th on the grid. Now, also in this race, I have a teammate. That's right, you're looking at the colours here of Relentless Racing, a continuation of some of the teammates I had in Assetto Corsa Competizione. I will be running with these guys for special events and enduros in iRacing in the future, and having Danny here in this race was just a great opportunity to announce that I'll be driving with these guys for 2026, and you'll be seeing a lot of these colours on the channel in the future. On to the start now, as I said, out of 19th position, trying my best to put some heat into these tyres, and what was a relatively short start before the green flag here. The GT3 field backed right up to give plenty of space to those prototypes in front, so coming out of the chicane, we're pretty much getting straight into things with the green flag officially coming into the last corners here. Going basically side by side, 2 by 2 through these final 2 corners, everyone trying to give a nice bit of space to each other, and everyone is through these last corners nice and cleanly to take the start finish line for the first time in this race and get this race underway. A nice little gap to the Lamborghini behind, so we can be all eyes forward as we head down to this first turn. Like I said, we're in the middle here of a 33 car field. Surely some chaos will unfold, but everyone being nice and sensible through this opening chicane. I guess these A licensed drivers proving their safety rating. We'll have to see how the rest of the race unfolds. Down towards the Villeneuve chicane for the first time, turns 5 and 6, and still no big dramas here. The whole field snaking their way through this opening lap and up to the hairpin as well. Bit of jostling for position there for a couple of Aston Martins the inside of the hairpin, but everyone out nicely the other side, and it is a safe start to the first lap. Coming across to complete that first lap, on to lap number 2, and up in front, a bit of drama here. Very defensive line from a McLaren inside the top 10, caused a bit of a concertina effect, and it's a separate McLaren that ends up getting pushed up to the outside gravel trap there. So we are going to pick up a position up to 17th here, plus 2 places on this opening lap. through the Villeneuve chicane for the second lap, up towards the hairpin once more, and I was certainly struggling. I felt like I was struggling compared to these other cars on this cold tyre. BMW very understeery, and I was very cautious, trying not to push too hard, but obviously a gap already starting to form there to the car 35 McLaren in front, so I didn't want to let this one go too much. Pressure from the Porsche behind. We come down towards turns 11 and 12. Things don't go too well for me here. We do push a little bit hard. Big slide into turn 11 and work really hard to try straighten the car up and get it stopped. Fortunately, we don't collect that McLaren in front and we don't go too wide here, but we are going to lose a position to the Porsche, and with the speed overlap, the Lamborghini behind. So it's a disappointing start on these cold tyres, losing a couple of positions back to my P19 starting place. We are still very much in the thick of the action here, the start of this race. Pushing on to lap number 4, 29 minutes of this 35-minute race still to go, and we are slowly starting to find a groove with this car on this fuel load. Through turns 5 and 6 once again, but it's up ahead. We're going to have a little bit of drama here. The Mustang there in 10th position, losing the rear of the car on corner exit straight into the barrier, and that stricken car just on the outside apex there, everyone managing to avoid it. One more position gain back to position 18. Also on to lap number 6, and we can see some more drama up ahead, and this next lap is where some of the chaos of these IMSA races really started to show. Behind, quickly approaching, is the leader of the GTP class. Massive speed overlap, but on this very tight, difficult to pass circuit, there'll be a lot of patience required, a lot of cooperation required by all cars. You see the leader now going down towards turn number 11, 5-6 cars in a line there, trying to fit into a gap. The McLaren there losing the rear as he comes out of turn number 12, and behind I've got a bit of pressure now. Car number 3, who had a bit of a moment at the start of the race, quickly starting to catch, looking to make some moves up the field. Probably the fastest GT3 driver we had in this race. Down towards the final set of corners now, second place in the GTP field coming through, trying to sneak through a gap there on the inside of turn 16, slowing that car 19 right up. We're looking to get a bit of an advantage here. The traffic does give and the traffic does take. And Aston Martin on the outside of the final corner, and we are able to sneak up another position. Something else has happened as well, because we managed to get up into position 14. Just the chaos of this lap, didn't even see all of the moments that happened in that one. Down towards the first chicane once again. Of course, the chaos does not stop there as we get through turns 2, 3, 4. It's third place now in the GTP field is quickly approaching, and he gets by me in an awkward position here. Need to brake early, try and tuck in, but that number 3 car takes advantage of that, diving down the inside at turn 5, holding it around the outside. We brake nice and early to give him space. That faster driver was eventually going to get by me anyway, so we're trying to play it safe, trying to avoid any contacts and drama, but plenty of chaos in this multi-class IMSA race. 22 minutes to go now, and that car number 3 is starting to make moves now up the field. I'm right on the bumper here of car 19, and we can see car 3 down the inside of the Porsche. Car 19 tries to capitalize on that, on the power too early though, losing the rear, spinning out, and we managed to avoid that as yet another GTP car comes by towards turn number 9. You can see how cautious he is with those 2 cars, GT3 cars in front, being side by side. And it's just so much management is needed from all parties, patience, aggression, good equal amounts of both, and we've all managed to sneak through here nice and calmly. Now we're at the heft here in 14th position, chasing down this number 47 Porsche. At this part of the race, I was definitely starting to find my groove and find my pace, and there was definitely some more pace that I had on this manti coloured car. However, Imola is a very tricky place to pass, and the Porsche had good corner exit, which made it a very difficult task for me to find a nice tidy place to get by. So we have now the leader of the LMP2 class come by. This is another opportunity here. Porsche on the outside, slow, trying to make a crisscross here, but he's parked it nicely on the apex. We make contact, ease off the throttle, make sure I don't push him too far into the gravel. Now defensive for the Mercedes-Benz behind, and that back and forth of the traffic really playing out here on this particular lap. Now at this point, end of lap number 11, I'm really starting to think about an undercut to try and get by this Porsche. There's about 5 laps left of fuel, but I'm getting held up quite significantly at this point. Thankfully, the Porsche decides it is best for himself to come in on this particular lap, and we are now left with a whole chunk of free clear track running, and I really need to put my head down and produce some of my best laps to find myself further up this field. And thankfully, I immediately did find some pace. A 1 minute 42.37 previous best lap immediately went into a 141.93 for a couple of laps, and now on this lap really starting to hit my stride in this car as the fuel load comes off. And as I said, we're about 3 laps of fuel at this stage, so the longer I can go into this race, the shorter my stop will be, and obviously the lap time has dramatically improved as well. Through the chicane on this particular lap, 2 and a bit tenths up as we come down towards the final set of corners, and I knew that there was still a bit more time in these final corners as well. On the brakes, trail right in over the top of that inside apex, and then try and get on the throttle as early as I can out of this final corner. Nicely 3.5 tenths up on this lap as we come down. The Mercedes-Benz behind from 9th place pits as well, so we are going to be one of the final runners out on track to make one of the latest stops in this race. 1 minute 41.586, my new personal best lap. And as we hit the first sector of this next lap, we're already starting to see almost a tenth up through the first couple of corners, so it was absolutely worth my while to keep pushing on. No GTPs or LMP2s around me at this point, all head down, focusing on my own race, and hopefully this will move me further up this GT3 field. Through the final hairpin here, 2 and a bit tenths up on this lap, which unfortunately we don't manage to hold on to, so it's another 1 minute 41.5 that next lap, but I do feel like I'm doing enough to clear a couple of cars and get myself further up the grid. You see, we've moved up to 5th position at this point, so we are going to be one of the final people to make the stop with only 7.5 minutes of this race still to go. A reminder here to pit for fuel this lap, and we do manage to come in. No tyre change in this one, just the short stop for fuel. And as we come out the other side, we do have a nice clear track behind us. We have made some really good gains. Now charging down to turn 1, having exited the pits, you can see on the relative there that we're going to come out, it's about 5 seconds now to the car 21 Ford Mustang, but the key number there, that 49 Mercedes-Benz, that was the car that was immediately behind me after that yellow Porsche came in for its stop. So we had made a really big gain, and that left us in 12th position and about 5 seconds away from the next group of cars on the road. In a way, I was really disappointed that I made that early mistake in the race, which put me a few positions back and ultimately found myself in that tricky position, being behind that yellow Porsche for a number of laps there. And you can see up ahead, there's the back of the top 10, which included my teammate Danny. He'd been making some really good ground, starting from 13th, now up to 8th position, fighting hard with this yellow Mercedes-Benz here. You can see putting a lot of pressure on this car in these closing laps. Obviously, I was disappointed to not be involved in the battle here with these guys, but it was encouraging signs through the latter part of this race that I had some pace in this vehicle. Now, obviously, a race is not over until it is over, and we were going to see some last lap drama here unfold in that 5-second gap in front of me. Coming through the final turn, and we get a brief yellow flag there out of the final corner, and then another yellow flag as we round this final bend. We see that yellow Mercedes-Benz stopped on the side of the track, tire smoke in front, and it's a couple of Mustangs, including my teammate Danny, in the outside wall through the start finish line. Drama for sure has unfolded, but what has exactly happened? Cutting to the replay now, and we've got Danny on the outside trying to make a move on this yellow Mercedes-Benz. Coming through the final corner, and there's not a lot of racing room given, and a small touch there unfortunately creates disqualifying incident points for both those cars. The yellow Mercedes brake checks on the straight, and as the two Mustangs avoid then come back to the racing line, they end up taking each other out, both finding the outside fence over the start finish line. A complete mess in front. We sneak through to claim a couple of positions, but it is truly unfortunate for my teammate coming to terms there on the very last lap after a strong race to that point. But as I said, we do manage to claim a few spots. We are now up inside the top 10 and just trying to cleanly finish this race out. We've collected 7 incident points during this one, the contact with the Porsche being the biggest 4x in this, and we were going to try and claim a little bit of safety rating as a result, but being car number 38, this top 10 finish was going to be a strong one for myself. As we come around the final corner, one final issue to play out here, a pitting car 36 Ferrari. He had one final off track in that final lap, and he also needed to serve a drive-through penalty. So it's a P7 position finish from 19th on the grid, and I've got to admit that IMSA race was a lot of fun. I think the sheer number of cars can cause the trouble that we saw out on track, but it was a lot of strong, clean racing from a number of drivers, and I certainly will look forward to lining up to more of these races in the future. So it's some encouraging first experiences with the IMSA series. From a slower start to some nice laps in the middle of the race, and picking up some of the mess at the end there showed me what I can sometimes expect from these IMSA events. Now, like I said at the start, a license is reserved for those players who have proven themselves safe on track. But it's also true of these IMSA races that some of the hardest racing can be found in the A license events. And what I picked from this race is that everyone is riding a very fine line between racing hard and fair and things going horribly wrong. I think it's just the nature of top flight series racing on iRacing, and certainly I'll be looking to try and stay just below that line, particularly around places like Imola where it's very hard to pass. Things can go wrong very quickly, and I certainly capitalized on being a slightly more patient than other drivers. That said, I had some great racing with some competitors out on track, and just like in GT3 and other categories, there's no easy results in these sorts of series, and it's something that I truly enjoy about iRacing. Now let me know in the comments, what did you think of that race? I would love to know your thoughts. And have you tried IMSA as well? What's your takeaway of the series? Do you love it? Do you love the multi-class? Let me know in the comments. Would love to have that conversation. As always, thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. If you are new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Race hard, stay positive. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.